So don't touch nurses. Let's talk about it.
You're listening to the Ritual Nurse Podcast, where healing meets humor, science, and a touch of magic.
All right. Hello, my beautiful besties, and welcome to the Ritual Nurse Podcast. This is our second video audio episode. And right before the intro, I said, don't touch nurses. Kind of a weird statement. Not weird if you think about it from the context of violence in the workplace, but that's not what I'm talking about this episode. What I'm talking about is the phenomenon that we notice as nurses, where as soon as you're done with your shift, you can't handle any more human interaction, whether it be communication, physical, otherwise, anything. It's really kind of a don't touch, don't talk, don't ask questions, nothing. And a lot of us in between work and personal life have this kind of time out period that for some people, it's you sitting in the parking garage in your car, like zoning out. And then you realize you've been sitting there for like 15 minutes. Or it's the 20, 30-minute commute home, listening to your playlist, zoned out. Like, aside from the exhaustion, aside from the being tired part, it is a desperate attempt at a nervous system reset. Every nurse knows this. I don't care where you nurse. We spend so much time during our shift responding to everything in our environment. Sounds, bids for attention, needs for analyzation and critical thinking, physical action, input, processing, constant for at least 12 hours. And almost all of it carries the stress and anxiety of someone else, multiple other people's lives on your shoulders, the responsibility of that on your shoulders. Why on earth am I talking about in this podcast episode? Today, I had orientation for an undergrad class that I teach, and it revolves mental health nursing, revolves around that. I do spend a lot of time talking to my students about developing healthy boundaries to protect their own mental health and to start honing their skill of maintaining consistent therapeutic boundaries. Invariably, that usually winds up including explanations of the mental stress and workload that is involved in nursing. That's kind of like the unseen aspect of what we do. And unseen workloads are not unfamiliar to a lot of people, especially moms with kids. Like the mental workload, if you will. But in nursing, it's physiological, psychological, and physical all in one. Let me explain. So during your shift, you have physical signals like pump alarms. God love it, that upstream occlusion, air in the line, or ER slapped an 18 gauge in the AC and your patient is constantly bending their elbow. Whatever it may be, alarm fatigue, your telemonitors, on and on and on. Constant sounds of alarms overhead, at the bedside, sitting next to you, the unit clerk, watching the monitor strips, all that. Constant alarm sounds, which we develop what is known as alarm fatigue, meaning your brain learns to normalize those and in contextual your surroundings and kind of phases them out. It doesn't phase them out according to your nervous system. It just does so for working space memory in your brain. I'm using layman's terms for a lot of this. So sometimes you don't notice it. Your nervous system, however, constantly does. That whole 12-hour shift, you're hypervigilant. You are listening for call lights, you are listening for overhead alarms, bed alarms, chair alarms, pump alarms, you name it. Then you add in other bids for attention, whether it is pop ups in your EMR, in your charting flow, when you're scanning medications, whether it is tags, stickers, posters, notices, colors, or if it's human bids for attention, communication from colleagues, patients, strangers, family members. You're constantly in a sea of people, even night shift. I know everybody likes to joke about night shift, that, they spend most of their time in downtime. Nothing could be less accurate. Um, Night shift may have less people around it, but still a lot of the same contextual stressors, and even more so because there are less people around to call on, rely on, delegate to. There's a lot more responsibility that sits squarely on their shoulders that they have to be hyper vigilant to cover. So there's all these bids for attention. There's all of this stimuli coming at you constantly. Doesn't matter where you are. Some environments may be louder than others, true, but it doesn't mean that the stimuli doesn't change. So in talking to my class and in describing to them ways in which they need to maintain boundaries, not just therapeutic boundaries, but boundaries to protect their mental health, I have to describe to them the contextual environment that they're in and the stimuli that they're going to be exposed to and how to separate themselves from that in order to regulate their nervous system. When we spend 12 hours a day stuck in fight mode, stuck in high adrenaline mode, stuck in hypervigilance mode, we lose the flexibility, the ability cognitively to respond variously to stimuli, meaning the level of attention, the level of emotional investment, physical response, physical arousal in terms of attention, adrenaline, brain chemistry. You just kind of have one level of response. And by the end of your shift, you really don't have any response left. Or if you do, it's still stuck in that mode. And that's why a lot of nurses can feel touched out at the end of a shift. We use this when we educate new mothers, mothers in general, about this phenomenon because there's a lot of guilt associated with it, oftentimes, where they just can't understand why they want to come out of their skin at the end of the day when someone else makes a bid for their attention or is physically in their space and they just want to come unglued. Because all day long, they've had this stimuli in their environment, physically, mentally, emotionally, making bids for attention, being touched all day. They're touched out. So in nursing, that's kind of where we get that response of don't ask me questions. Don't talk to me. Don't touch me. There's no more response left for stimuli. And for nursing students that have not experienced this yet in their environment, teaching them how to maintain their boundaries helps them navigate the shift, if you will, in such a way that they have a little bit more reserve to then make that transition after their work shift. And maintaining boundaries is not something that a lack of it is not a personal fault of a nurse. These are things that were not taught contextually in nursing school. At least we weren't up until now. And they are very real and very differently applied than like the normal context of boundaries. When you say maintaining boundaries, like during your nursing shift, it's doing things like allowing yourself to delegate to a team member and unlicensed personnel, whomever. I mean, trying to use the official words for things because there's 50,000 different roles that could encompass. Um, Alarm surveillance. I'm going to take a 15. Can you listen for XYZ alarm, their tele alarm, their chair alarm, their bed alarm, their whatever it is? Vocalizing, you need someone else to take that alarm stimuli. You're delegating that for that 15-minute break or whatever it is. And then actively not surveilling it. Get off the floor or go to a different area. Do we ever stop listening for overhead alarms? No, because codes, fires, code grays, code silvers, code blacks, purples, pinks, whole gamut of codes that we listen for. But you can at least afford yourself, excuse me, a few minutes of lowered stimuli. Another thing is technostress. I know, weird word. I really kind of want it to be a Lady Gaga song. I think it would be amazing. Or Queen Herbie, one of them. With the advent of AI and technology moving into the medical space and EMRs and electronic charting and electronic surveillance and phones and tablets and the remote monitoring. I don't know if you guys in your hospitals have seen the towers that are placed at the foot of patient beds that can see the monitors and the patient, and they're actually remote nurses are remote monitoring patients and surveilling patients in the hospital with these kind of robotic looking tower things. Technology wise, and you're constantly waiting for a call or a message or input or paging from the remote monitors letting you know that something's going on with your patient. So with the advent of all of this technology kind of crowding into the space, including the technology that we use regularly, our phones, our digital watches, I don't have a fitness ring on right now, but our fitness rings even are all sensors that are providing stimuli and input. So nowadays, our nursing environment is even that much more crowded with stimuli. Pop-ups on computers, messaging, phone pagers going off, phone messages going off, Voceras, Tiger texting. The list is infinite. During your shift, if you do not need to monitor something in that given moment or time frame, if you're done charting for a minute, turn the screen of not the computer, just turn the computer screen off for a few minutes. Stop the stimuli, stop the input. Even if you're only doing this 5 to 10 minutes an hour throughout your shift. And I know, our hypervigilance pushes us to feel like we can't unplug ever. And it's a lie. You absolutely can. Even in an ICU, you absolutely can. As an ICU nurse, I can tell you, you absolutely can. So if we're able to do this, even for a few minutes, even 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour throughout your shift, lowering the stimuli, lowering the threshold of stimuli coming at you, the constant surveillance, the constant bids for attention, dramatically changes that locked state in which your nervous system is constantly operating. You actually begin to develop that variability again in your nervous system in what state you're in the time at that time frame. You're not constantly in the red, running at the red line or in the red line the entire time that you are on your shift for 12 hours plus straight. Lunch breaks, do something else. Listen to my podcast, which I hope you're doing on your lunch break now. You want to make sure that you are lowering bids for attention and stimuli as much as you can across the board, whether that's moving where you're charting. You have that insistent family member that doesn't respect personal space, is constantly coming and sitting next to you while you're charting or trying to sit behind the nursing station with you while you're charting. For some of you, you're thinking, what in the hell? I'm telling you, in all the years of my nursing, the things that I've seen and witnessed and been around, yeah, it sometimes you just have to wonder. But setting up those boundaries or maintaining those boundaries means you may chart somewhere different, means you may have a team member run interference, could be your charge nurse, whomever, so that bid for attention, that constant stimuli is negated in your environment for a little bit. Lowering that anxiety threshold, allowing your nervous system to reset. Now, let's get back to the parking lot timeout. I think for us as nurses, it's something that we learned to do as a coping behavior. It's almost kind of ingrained in our culture. You'll hear variations of it depending on what kind of facility you work in and how people get to and from work. But there's always that timeout period. And nursing isn't the only field that has it. I'm sure all of the other high stress fields have the same thing where you have to sit in that transitional space in order to regulate your nervous system, in order to plug in and show up in a different way for the bids for attention and the needs that you're meeting and the stimuli of your personal life or whatever it is you're transitioning into. Um, that's another area where having ritual space for yourself on your days off and setting up or having a routine, a ritual for yourself after your shift, especially if your shift involves a lot of trauma, a lot of secondary trauma exposure, debriefing is vastly important. Sometimes you may not be able to do it that evening. Life gets in the way, responsibilities. Maybe you're not ready to emotionally have that debriefing, that dialogue with yourself in the next few hours after your shift. It's totally understandable. But you still need to have some kind of ritual for yourself that allows you to completely lower your nervous system response to a resting state. A lot of that involves physiology and somatic release of that stress. So, any kind of body directed, whether it's stretching, yoga, deep breathing, cold plunges, hot shower, like whatever physiologically, somatically helps you unwind and unknot that tension and lower your nervous system response from head to toe. It's really, really important that you develop that habit across the board. After your shift, you need to know, your body needs to know that there is something in place that specifically addresses the need for your nervous system to go back down to zero, especially if you're transitioning from work and your personal life has as much stimuli, bids for attention, stress, trauma, even. albeit in a different manner, perhaps, but contextually, as your work environment. Your nervous system needs a rest point. Physiologically speaking, it's taxing you, taxing your adrenal glands, taxing your endocrine system, taxing your immune system, and it's going to have repercussions physiologically. So you have the right to put yourself first and set those boundaries and maintain them. So the whole don't touch nurses can look a lot like I need 15 minutes to collect my thoughts, take a hot shower, do yoga, stretch, be in a quiet room by myself, whatever it is, before anybody asks me for anything, touches me, talks to me, or anything. Believe me, they can wait. If it takes 30 minutes, maybe it takes 30 minutes. If you've had a really hard shift, suffered a loss, had a lot of trauma exposure that shift, you may need some regulation time. And that is 1,000% okay to have that as a non-negotiable. It's 1,000% okay. If we don't start healing the healers, you guys are going to run out of you to be able to show up for anybody else. So my job is to preserve as much of you as possible for you to show up for others, to heal others, and more importantly, for you to show up in your own life for yourself. So right about now, if you're listening to the audio version of this, it is our dance break. Time to de-stress, time to hit pause. If you have to head back to the floor, we hope that you're going to rejoin us afterwards. If you are heading back on shift, whatever it is, we'll see you after the break and we'll continue with our discussion about nursing wellness and another hot topic that absolutely drives me nuts. And then, of course, we'll have our coffee, crystals, and divination. So dance it out, besties. Oh, did you think I was actually going to dance? Ha, on video, you're pretty funny. Not happening. Only the audio part is doing our dance break. It is an audio cue that I decided to leave in. I don't know, maybe someday I'll dance for you on video, but not today. So for the video podcast, we'll have the audio cue in. It's just kind of a unique thing that we have. And then we'll kick into the second segment. All right. Speaking of second segment, let's get on with it. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about was performative wellness. So right now in the nursing space, there's a lot of focus on somatic wellness, nervous system resetting, a lot of the same similar topics that I talked about in the first part of this episode for a good reason, because they're necessary. But performative wellness, we see it everywhere. Let me explain. It's the flyers constantly posted everywhere at work, encouraging you to drink water, practice gratitude, touch grass. It's social media influencers and toxic positivity. It's, telling you to focus on, just focus on the light and focus on the positive things. And it's all love and light and deep breathing. And I call bullshit. It's performative wellness. It's meant to sound good. It's sound bites. God forbid you open LinkedIn. I don't even know why I have a LinkedIn. It's my fault. It is my fault. It's my fault for being on that part of the internet. But all you see is performative wellness. All you see is performative posts about we have a problem and it's called nurse bullying or horizontal violence or staffing stress. And we've put a name to it and we care about nurses. And this is a huge problem that we need to talk about. But they're not talking about it. They're not solving it. And they're not doing anything but using it to generate algorithmic responses because of the buzzwords that are in it. Performative wellness contributes to technostress, if you will, by constantly bombarding us with the nucleus of the negative thing that's wrong without there ever being a positive at all to it. Constantly telling nurses that they need to hydrate and practice gratitude and touch grass really implies that the nurses are the problem. Again, absolute bullshit. We're in a system that isn't designed for our well being. Short staffing isn't because there's a shortage of nurses. There isn't a shortage of nurses. There's just a shortage of nurses willing to put up with healthcare systems bullshit. So, short staffing, not having safe staffing ratios are all financial decisions. They're 100% financial decisions. They're not driven by some phantom shortage of nurses available to fill the positions. So, constantly having this environment around you telling you you just need to focus on the positive. You need to practice gratitude. You need to look on the bright side of things. Sure, does positive thinking enhance and change brain chemistry to a minor extent? Yes, it does. Is that what is needed to solve these problems? No. And neither is telling nurses that they bear the brunt of doing this. The systems need to change, and it is not nurses, it is not the nurses' fault that the systems are the way that they are. The nurses are the victim of it. It's pretty much circular gaslighting, if you will. So, performative wellness is something that it's like a fancier form of toxic positivity. You know, them posting flyers for, free yoga class in the middle of day shift when the unit's trying to keep its head above water, or right after night shift, knowing that most of their night shift members don't get off of night shift on time because of their staffing problems. They put these things out and point to them as if to say, look at how much we care. Look at what we're doing. This culture of wellness and health and vitality. Hot air, just emptiness and hot air. Same thing with the social media posts in places like LinkedIn, even Facebook also. Not so much TikTok. That tends to be more on the side of realism and nurses generating most of the content. But in other spaces, you're just bombarded with the buzzwords and the keyword language and the carefully curated statements about the issues, but there's never any solution. They're always calling for a solution, but there's never any solutions generated. And they're always naming the problem and never discussing what's causing it. It's like constantly saying, my patient's got a fever of 102. We should really do something about that. And never administering an antipyretic, never doing any kind of cultures or swabs or investigation into why do they constantly have a fever of 102. But no, we're going to talk about the fact that they have a fever of 102, and this is deeply impactful to this patient and is a very serious problem that needs to be addressed. And we're going to even put up flyers about how much we're paying attention to this fever and how, gosh, the patient should just cool down. Focus on being cooler. See how absolutely ridiculous and stupid that is? Same thing with performative wellness. It makes me absolutely insane. My advice to you is completely ignore it. What is important for you in showing up for yourself is crafting systems and crafting routines and rituals that serve your purpose to protect your boundaries, protect your peace, help you navigate therapeutic boundaries, especially for people that are really not conflict minded, um, which is a lot of people. A lot of people don't like conflict, and that's perfectly fine. Establishing rituals and establishing habits that help you maintain your therapeutic boundaries, maintain your personal boundaries, and help you instill deeper boundaries in between work and personal life. Craft systems that protect you from the environment we work in. You have to take care of yourself. Otherwise, there's going to be nothing left to take care of anyone else. And you deserve to exist outside of your job. You deserve to show up in your personal life with 100% authenticity and fullness and enjoyment and engagement in your life outside of work. But there's got to be something of you remaining in order for you to do that. So, soapbox rant over. Performative wellness really gets under my skin, like majorly gets under my skin. Now, let's get on with our coffee, crystals, and divination. This entire time I've been holding and not really sipping on this English afternoon tea because the Rode mics that we're using for our video podcasting have the sensitivity. I don't even know what sensitivity levels to attribute it to, but if I take a sip of this and continue to drink this while talking to you, it would be an awful soundtrack for the podcast audio accompanying my words and message to you. So I've just been kind of holding it at the moment. But for our coffee of the week, my husband and I went on a little journey, a frustrating one at that, trying to find the necessary ingredients to make cafe de olla. Cafe de olla is one of my favorite types of coffee just because I love the aromatics of it. There's a restaurant here in town called Dream Tacos that makes the best cafe de olla I've ever had. I want it right now. I might go get it when I'm done filming this. But I wanted to make it at home. Their hours really aren't conducive to me having it whenever I want, especially in the morning. I wanted to learn how to make it at home. So we went to like 4 different stores because Google lies and they didn't actually have the ingredient that I needed, which was piloncillo. Uh, and that's like a dark caramelized, like brown sugar. You can find them in cones, um, like little pucks that look like wax melts, big, huge slabs of it that I honestly don't know how you break them apart because it's like cement hard. It's really hard. And a ton of stores said that they had it, didn't have it. We then realized, hey, we have a great market here in town. Why don't we try that? No kidding, they had like 5 variants of it in 4 different places in the store. So I was able to get the ingredients. And of course, I grabbed some really good Mexican coffee to use as well. A lot stronger than my normal blend. So my first go at it wasn't exactly successful. However, next time I make it, we'll put in less rocket fuel and it should be just about right. So that's been kind of my coffee focus for myself. I'm desperately trying to find something that fits in my current routine, given that my clinical schedule and work schedule have me booked calendar wise pretty much 7 days a week. So I need something that fits into my normal morning routine that I can make ahead of time and store in the refrigerator and either have it iced or heat it up super quick while I'm throwing my shoes on and throwing stuff in my bag and running out the door at 6 a.m. to be at the clinical site by 6:30, etc., or even earlier, depending on how far I have to drive. And that I'm hell bent on getting it right and making the perfect cup. I have the cinnamon sticks. I have the cloves. I haven't tried the twist of orange. I have the piloncillo. I've got all the necessary ingredients. So I'm going to keep working at it until I get it right. That's my coffee focus of the week. If you guys have a recipe, if you know what cafe de olla is and you have a family recipe for it, a personal recipe for it, um, please send it to me in the comments. Tell me how you make yours or how your family member made it, whomever. I don't have the clay pot. I have to make it in a normal pot, and I just have normal mugs. Normally, I guess it is traditionally in a clay pot, and the cups are of the same material that the pot is made out of. I don't have that. I have cookware at home and normal coffee mugs, so we're going to make do with that. But tell me in the comments or text me and let me know what your recipe is. And I'm going to try them because I really want to come up as close as I can to what this restaurant makes. I even tried, don't hate. I even tried the Nestle instant version. They make a cafe de olla instant coffee version. Nope. Mm-mm. That does not taste anything like it. It was very bitter. So share it with me, share it on social. Again, text me, message me, let me know. I want to try your guys' recipes. So with that being said, let's pull I'm going to put you there so you don't fall, our crystal oracle for the next 2 weeks here and see what it has to say. I think we had some really good pulls. I'll do 2 cards because I think that's been working really well for our crystal oracle. And we'll see what we get. We've been getting kind of similar themed cards throughout the life of the podcast. We've seen a couple of them come up with pretty consistent regularity, I'd say. First one, we've never had this one before. Gosh, what a beauty. Okay. Let's do a second one. If I had space to lay the cards out, I might pick the cards based on, I don't know, intuitive kind of feeling, but I don't. So I'm doing it, shuffling it. Oh, 3 of them came out. Well, that's what we're reading. All right. Our first one that came out is Ruby, and it's vibrance, and it's a heart. Our second one that came out was Amplify, and it's clear quartz. Haven't had either of these this entire time. Our third one that came out is Protection, and it's black tourmaline. Now, again, I don't know if the autofocus on my camera is going to allow me to show you, but I figure if I hide my face behind them, you might be able to see the cards. All right. So let's start with ruby and then clear quartz and then black tourmaline. Wow, these are gorgeous. We have not had these the entire time that we've been reading these cards. So the first one is ruby, passion, vitality, and self-confidence. Has your heart been feeling burnt out lately? In life, some situations can dim our fire and decrease our desire, making burnout a natural, yet frustrating challenge to handle. Don't give up just yet, though. This card is here to reignite the fire in your heart, not in a heartburn way, but in a cool, passionate, and I've got this kind of way. Let this card be the catalyst that sets your soul ablaze with fiery passion, desire, and a zest for life. Feel your heart pulsating with unwavering confidence and purpose. With the help of Ruby's crimson red fire, burn up any lethargic feelings and self-destructive thoughts. Turn up the heat, embrace your true power, and lead a more vibrant life. You got this. What an incredible message. Amplify, clear quartz. As I've explained before, I do like to use the literature that is included with decks because the author wrote it. and it contains a lot of the intention that the author put into crafting the imagery and the choice of elements in the card itself. And if there's additional interpretation or intuitive hits that I get from it, I'll say that also. But I really do think it's important to incorporate that. And 9 times out of 10, when we've read them, they've been so spot on. It's incredible. So amplify. Clear quartz is cleansing, amplifies other crystals, and it's a master healer. Let clear quartz be your cosmic amplifier, magnifying your intentions and desires with crystal clarity. This crystal conductor elevates the energy of your intentions and cleanses away stagnant vibes, even for your other crystals as a bonus. Just as this crystal is a master of clarity, may it help you see through the noise and focus on what Focus on what truly matters. Allow the energy of clear quartz to clear any negative energy, enhance your intentions and desires, and guide you on a path to wellness. I kid you not. You saw me pull it randomly. It's literally statement by statement the exact topics of this podcast that we just talked about. Okay. Last one is black tourmaline. So let's bring it in. Let's see what we've got here. Black tourmaline is protection. It's grounding, protection, and cleansing. Like a shield, black tourmaline stands ready to guard you from negativity, creating a force field of positivity and strength around you. This card is encouraging you to protect your energy and find grounding in times of chaos. I can't with this. Allow black tourmaline to be your shield against energy vampires and emotional turbulence, empowering you to protect your energetic boundaries and preserve the essence of your being. Shut up. Okay, epic crystal pull for the next 2 weeks. So those are your stones for the next 2 weeks: ruby, clear quartz, and black tourmaline. Ooh, what a fun kind of mix of colors too. I really like that. Holy crap, that could not have been more accurate. Okay, let's do our, now I'm excited. Now I want to see what the divination is. All right. Okay. That was probably really loud against the mic. Sorry, guys. But again, we're aiming for 2. Divination, manifestation, meanings for the next 2 weeks. The Crystal Oracle really honed in on the message of the podcast. The High Priestess, which is pink amethyst. Let me make sure that another one didn't turn over by mistake. Okay. These are kind of large cards for me. Smaller, I might be able to shuffle smaller ones more easily, but these are just so gorgeous that I just love using them. Maybe I'll have to have my husband come be on the podcast and shuffle the cards for us, because he can hold on to them much better than I can. He's currently my audio visual production manager and supervisor at the moment. All right, come on. We need a second divination card for, okay. All righty. We have the High Priestess, which is pink amethyst, and the 3 of Cups, which is turquoise. Interesting, interesting. All righty. So the High Priestess is part of the major arcana. And the High Priestess, intuition, wisdom, and a thirst for knowledge. Pink amethyst signifies intuition, clarity, and acceptance. The High Priestess is all about trusting your instincts. Pulling this card can indicate that now is the time to look within yourself and connect to your intuition. The answers you are seeking can come from within. Noted. Has a lot to do with listening to yourself and your needs and following your intuition. The Three of Cups signifies friendship, celebration, and joy, and turquoise is communication, friendship, and strength. Celebrate good times. Come on. I love it. When this card appears, take this as a sign of encouragement to spend some quality time and celebrate with your close friends and family to lift your spirit. So I think the combination of intuition and trusting your intuition to guide you to what you need most and focusing on sharing space with those that are important to you, I think also includes holding space for yourself and spending time with yourself, intuitively focusing on the things that you need. I think those are a perfect journal prompt, manifestation prompt, mantra, straight up divination reading for the next 2 weeks. However you take it, whatever works for you. We've got an incredible lineup of your crystal prescription for the next 2 weeks of ruby, clear quartz, and black tourmaline. You can also throw some pink amethyst and turquoise in there as well. What a fun bracelet that would make. That would be absolutely gorgeous. And keep these things around as reminders to hold your boundaries, trust your intuition, focus on hold space for yourself, focus on that ritual space for yourself, and really protect your peace. This is absolutely incredible. If you guys have liked these episodes, please interact with us on socials. Like, share, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're going to keep pushing out the video podcasts. I really like this media better for communicating with you guys. It is a lot more raw and it's a little unnerving in that regard, in terms of engaging with you guys and the uncertainty of how to go about doing this. But we're honing it in and we're practicing it. And I really look forward to it. So definitely like, subscribe, share. With the podcast itself, please text us your stories, text me your cafe de olla recipes, all sorts of things. I want to hear from you guys. It makes my day, my week when I get stories and feedback from you. There are text links in the show notes. You can also, the actual text number to text me is now in the show notes, and it should also be in the video notes as well. Should be down below in the video, like the actual show notes. But yeah, enjoy the lovely weather. We're having lovely weather here. I hope you are as well. Protect your peace, protect your boundaries, heal yourself so that you can show up for others. But most importantly, show up for yourself first. I love your faces, and I'll see you next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Ritual Nurse Podcast. Head to tcth.org for classes, tools, and so much more. Until next time, love your faces.